Okay, thank you, Teresa, and thank you for having me here. And okay, it's here. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope it was a good lunch, and I'm going to try not to make you sleepy further. So I'm Nishant Redekar, Solution Architect for Process Automation, based out of Finland, working for over of technology department, technology unit at Wärtsilä. So moving on very quickly. So probably not many people would know name Wärtsilä unless you are associated anything with the marine business or marine solutions and energy generation. So we are a company based out in headquarters in Helsinki, Finland. And as the tagline said, much more than an engine company. So probably people who know us would know that we make some of the biggest diesel engines or the biggest cruise liners what you see are powered by our engines. So the people who know us probably know that, but we are a lot more than that. We are doing a lot more energy, serving entire marine and energy markets for all the smart technologies and system integration and basically solution across different aspects of energy generation for marine and energy markets. So over 19,000 people, 200 locations. We have probably more than 80 countries where we have our active operations. And so it's a pretty wide variety of people and cultures we work with. So the same happens to our softwares we use, applications and ERP solution and processes we have. There's a wide variety of things we do. And yeah, so I'm here to talk a little bit more about, before I go further, just a glimpse of what we do when it comes to our company's portfolio of just few of the things what we do is we are probably have more than 80% of navigation systems what you see on vessels across the globe. We are one of the biggest technology integrator for energy generation in marine and energy markets. And there are a bunch of different things. I don't want to go through all. And also we hold a Guinness world record for most cleanest engine technology. Yeah. So moving on. Most important things why you are here and what we are going to talk about, why I am here, is that talking about when we talk about RPA and process automation and overall, how do you have a bigger impact of this new emerging technology, and how do you actually apply it practically in your organization, and how do you leverage this technology? So probably I'll try not to go a lot in technical, but also a people aspect of implementing process automation to kind of accelerate the digital transformation drive. Because like any other traditional company, we are also in the process of digital transformation that moving from ways of working to a lot more modern way of working. And when we talk about digital transformation, it's not that only deploying new softwares. You cannot go digital by just deploying new software. So there's a lot more to it that digital. How do you utilize this new emerging technologies to create new businesses, create new revenues, save money at the same time? everything basically aims at money again, what we do. Yeah, so reason we started with the process automation and looking at RPA tool was, of course, the efficiency. How do we increase the efficiency of our processes? How do we bring, how do we do things quicker with less errors and a lot more, probably, get more scope for people so that our people can focus on a lot more value addition, or our people can focus on serving our customers rather than just copying data from one system to another, for example. Yeah, and while doing that, not looking this as a technology project to just implement a piece of project and forget about it, but changing this mindset of people thinking about processes. How do you integrate processes and people together to think automation first in the core and not just on the system level? Okay? So Very quick about our pilot project. We started in 2016, or basically mid of 2016, we started looking at possibility of using RPA tools. And we called we actually called all the major suppliers of, or product providers of RPA, which included all major 4 players and including other some, and started doing a pre-work. Okay, how do we do this? What are the success criteria and so on? And moving in from there, in June we had kind of a first POC done with, our POC was in a way that we gave a piece of task to 4 different suppliers of automation, RPA software or RPA platform, and asked them to do, can you automate this task for us? And that was basically first criteria, that if the provider can actually automate that task, then we will look at evaluating them. And I'm really happy, still really happy that UiPath was the only platform who was able to do that. And that's how we ended up with choosing UiPath. But however, that was not the only criteria. We had a very strict vendor evaluation criteria, because I think in 2016, when we started in June, UiPath was really tiny. I'm literally calling it tiny because it was tiny. Now it's huge. So I'm kind of proud of that as well, that UiPath has been growing so much, and we chose the right partner to grow with the technology. Yeah. So moving on the pilot project. So we started in September. Did a technical environment setup, and there were some of the key criteria we wanted to do, that we wanted to do this in-house, because we think that process automation is a really a core capability of a company. Or business processes, you don't outsource business processes that easily. You want to keep your core business processes closer to your business. So that from that point of view, we wanted to keep this near to BPM. So we thought, okay, let's do it internally. Let's try. Will it work or not? We will see if it works or not. And then we had a target of 4 months project from September to December. Have 3 end-to-end processes deployed in production and run them basically for a month. So we had to finish that and run that in a month. But with the help of UiPath, we were 5 people involved in a project. Out of 5, there was 1 technical, everyone else functional business experts, or the process expert, to be honest. We call them key users, or process expert. Everyone calls them some different term. And the amazing thing about the pilot was that we managed to deploy our first production process, automated it in less than 2 weeks, and it was running in production at the week 3. And that was kind of also exciting to see. That process was developed by a non-technical person, and we still use that process. And that's why we went on to complete 13 processes in production instead of 3 at the end of December. And by the way, that picture here, that's actually my colleague, Suta. He's a great guy in marine solution business. He's also not an IT guy, doing a process workflow in one of our early workshops, designing processes, so on. Okay, so moving on. Just to give you a glimpse of what we are doing, or how many, we don't really talk anymore about number of processes or number of robots. It's just for the statistics, so that people really like statistics, so number for the number. But you can look at that, we have processes touching our shared service center and really traditional finance and controlling areas to our manufacturing and assembly line. So we have functions utilizing RPA in back office to our engineering, customers, sales, and all part of. I don't think so there is any part which we haven't, although we have still a lot of things to cover, but we are on a high level touching most part of key business units. So over 400 processes which are currently running in production. We run more than 180 jobs. That's a job. That means it's not a transactions. So over 500,000 transactions every month. And the key aspect of all of this whole development is done in-house. We have over 100 citizen developers, And we have been putting massive efforts to get our people to do this automation and do this not imposing on them to do it, but do it happy. Do it like really getting involved and doing it. And we have those 100 plus people who are really actively contributing this. And this is kind of a ecosystem we have created, a community that it supports itself. So we're going to talk a little bit about how that actually functions. So moving on. I'm pretty sure everyone has this question that you start with RPA in small part of your processes. It's really easy to do that you have 4, 5, 10 processes, but scaling is really challenging. How do you get people really motivated to do something? And because technology is still technology, you can implement it, but you cannot actually force that on anyone unless people really like to do it. Or you just force them and it will have an impact that it won't grow at above a certain limit. So we had the same questions, and if I have to go back a little bit and say, deploying these processes and starting RPA was not a really green road. It was not a hurdle-less road. There was a lot of pushback from different part of company, people, technologies, systems, saying that this is not a proven technology, you are doing something wrong. And there was like n number of questions. It was not without no resistance. So resistance is gonna be there. It's just that finding a right point to prove that, okay, this works, we need to do this. So one of the key thing what we had from the beginning in mind is that we want to do this in-house. We want to develop this as an in-house capability. We want to enable our people. We want our people to be more involved and do this themselves as their day-to-day job than just doing it and forgetting it. So we started on that note. We started our COE, building our COE in beginning of 2017, and then started training our people. So I'm going to talk very quickly about how do we actually train our people, how do we get them involved, and how do we actually start whole these processes of doing it. And keeping two different aspects of technology and people away. So technology implementation, and that is the UiPath platform, and then getting people to use the technology for their advantages. Because you have to remember one thing is the best people who know your processes, who know your business processes, the business process expert, the people who have been actually doing this job. And it's really, I have seen this personally impacting when you go to someone and say, okay, I think we can automate your job. Okay, just explain this to this guy who's going to automate your job, and they get scared, saying, okay, that guy is going to take my job because he's automating, and it practically happens. But rather, if you take an approach that, okay, we have some processes, and can you find some bottlenecks in your processes? Should we do a review? And would you like to automate it yourself? And that's how things start. Then we really encourage people, and how do we educate them, so on, and get them involved. And this is also an opportunity for people to kind of learn a new skill. This is about evolving. We are talking about digital transformation, and in this era of digital transformation, if we don't take our people along with us, the systems won't do anything. We need to have our people also aligned for the system and technology, what we are talking about. With the digital transformation, we talk about creating new revenues with the new tools and technology which we're offering. And not all companies are developing new technologies. We are utilizing new technologies. And that's the channel of creating new revenues and new ways of working. So while doing that, the companies who are not actually creating new things you are utilizing, you need to have a focus on people. So a little bit more about our citizen developer chart. So when we started at the beginning of 2016, we had 5 people, including me. And from there, we have right now 100 plus. So I'll show you a chart of how many we added for every one. But about this whole process, it's the same, reflecting back on what I said, that deploying processes, finding out the benefits, and doing this deployment quickly. But then things don't change so fast. You need to still give it a time. It's a gradual development. It takes time for people to change their mind. You can't expect you just give them a 2 hours workshop or session and then expect that tomorrow they will be all different new, right? So it takes time. So we did that. We have done number of ways of aligning people to tell them that they are the ones who should do this because they know the processes, they know the pros and cons of doing something or not doing something. And they are the ones who can actually change the process easily. If you go as an IT technology to change their process, it's not an easy path because not everyone likes to listen to everyone, especially who doesn't understand business processes. They don't want to listen to you. So in a way, putting them in the driver's seat, that was our focus, that put them in the driver's seat so they can decide themselves. So while doing this whole digital, the whole development from utilizing our citizen developers, you might have a lot of questions that how do we maintain quality, how do we make sure that everything is going into production with a set quality standard and governance. So that's where we differentiate between two set of people, right? So technology managed by IT and business processes managed by business processes, right? So BPM, it's still the BPM. So we try not to touch any of the BPM aspect of the process. They should, even if it is automated, they are the one we should use it. So this is a kind of a growth chart of our citizen developers. December 2016, 5. Then by April, we had 21. But from this December to April 2018 to get to that 21, we had to really put efforts. This doesn't come easy. That I can say that. It takes some efforts, but it's not impossible, or it's not that difficult saying that it's, you can't do it. Finding that team who, getting that people who can actually train, that is the first thing, and then, just finding your company's comforts, like what kind of a training do you want to give? UiPath offers very amazing, UiPath Academy as a starter, but that's not sufficient for a layman to be an RPA developer. So you need to find that sweet spot between the e-learning and face-to-face training, so that you can sit with people, you can understand their problem, you can understand their feeling about do they like it or not like it, how do we change something, tune your content, and so on. So we created our own training content and utilizing UiPath's content at the same time, and use them as. And I think one of the things why we were able to do that so well is also the management support. It's not that only a top-down approach works or a down-top approach works. It's that it has to be from both sides. So management has to support the initiative. You need to have some really good sponsor who can actually support you through good and bad times, both. There will be bad times when you start actually deploying this. It's not, as I said, it's not as green as it looks. Everything is not going to be positive. There's a lot of downsides to it. But when you compare both pros and cons, there's too many pros than the cons. So don't focus on bad sides of things. I would say focus on your strength. And that's what we have done, that focus on the strength. We have probably trained more than 900 people in the organization in or given information, 2-day sessions, 1-day session, and so on. And probably at least, I would say more than 1,000 people have attended our face-to-face sessions for understanding our, what do we do with RPA. People are excited to know what are we doing with RPA. And to do this, how do we do this actual awareness, improving the awareness of how do we get people involved. Also, that means like how do we create this traction between people and technology to adopt and to understand what we are doing. So there is no one thing you can do. there is a bunch of things you need to do. At least that's what we think, and that has worked for us, that sharing information, appreciating people, that's the most amazing thing, that let someone do something and then really showcase that to people, saying that, okay, you're doing something great. And we have some people who are almost close to retirement age and learning RPA development and really liking it. So that, and then appreciating those people when you are really helping them to get this, learn this new skill, they will be really happy to do this. Also, at the same time, have your management seriously involved in it. That we have some of the really, what do we call it, so sponsors or the management team is very passionate about automation and digital transformation, and they would really want to be involved, not just for the sake of saying do it, but they are really behind it. And then, as I said, talk about, we every now and then we have different info sessions and talking about process. As I said, we have 400 plus processes in production, so we pick up random cases from people and showcase them. And there is one picture in the corner. We have one of the robot which starts from the assembly line with a barcode scanner. So there is a barcode scanner which triggers the robot and does the process. I don't want to go in the process. So we have this kind of a really innovative process. It's not that only simple. We have very complicated. We have machine learning, AI-driven processes as well. So we are kind of going across. So while doing this, how do we make sure the quality control is assured? That how do we exactly use the citizen developer concept is? So in a simple word, I try to be a really simple and not very complicated charts and maps. So you have a business organization, and you have business process experts. And business process experts' job is to create an MVP. MVP is a minimum viable product. That's something which works and has a high-level logic configured. So citizen developer, so that is another aspect that you can't put burden of doing everything on citizen developers. They are non-technical people. They still have their full-time job. They are doing their existing job, and they are giving their 25%, 30% to this. So you can't tell them to do everything themselves. You need to really be along with them. So they create MVP, that is, their understanding of a process or an improved process, and create a draft of process, and then submit it for QA. And this QA is actually a seasoned software developer who understands the quality controls, who has all the guidelines of how do we develop automation and so on. He or she makes sure that everything, we are following all the standard, we are using our own custom templates and so on. So we have a lot of custom templates built, a lot of different tools built along with UiPath to help them. So they utilize that. And while doing this, now what is happening, we have observed that we started with this process, but our citizen developers are getting so good that many times the QA guy doesn't have to do anything. It's just that it's almost perfect. It works. And what they have done is aligned with the standards. So, but it takes time. It takes time. It's not going to happen over a few weeks or a couple of months. And this makes sure that everything which goes in production, and if we talk about technology platform behind it, I'll be happy to discuss this after the session. We don't have enough time. We have DevOps behind it, the CI/CD pipeline, which makes sure that we are not really doing anything manual. Because there is another philosophy, what I believe personally is that we are talking about automation. We are like a driver of automation engine, and if you have to do things manually, then there is no, I don't have any answer for other people. So we have really highly automated life cycle of how we manage automations and so on, our deployments and reviews and documentation behind. So as I said, I'm not really going to talk much about the technology aspect, because technology is, there's different ways of implementing same thing. Example of a citizen developer onboarding process. So let's say on a week 1, we have 25, 30 people joining our training session. So what we normally work with that every person who is coming to our training has at least one use case they are going to automate as part of the training. So they are going to actually learn and do at the same time. So they get a head start that they have to go and complete some part of UiPath Academy e-learning content, if not entire, because a lot of people feel uncomfortable understanding everything. There's a lot of technical jargons there which they don't understand. So we don't really force them to do 100%, but some part is mandatory, that do these basic things so that you have understanding when you come into the classroom. Right, and then from there, start with their own case after learning of 3 days with us in classroom, and start with working on their case. Normally it takes 3 to 4 weeks for that draft to be completed. And once it is done, we have seen it happening in less weeks also, but this is timeline. We expect that when a new developer comes on board, within 4 to 5 weeks it goes into production. And while doing this, production deployments and understanding, it takes some time for people to get comfortable with. But while doing this, we try to keep the technical complications of technology, of UiPath, orchestrator, background things, quite behind the system. So not everyone needs to know what is going behind the curtains. So we try to keep it that way. So that is where our Center of Excellence comes in picture. So Center of Excellence, we have this pretty big community. We have 4 people in Center of Excellence. Our Center of Excellence is just 4 people. And what they do is, they don't support anything. That support is only orchestrator and technical supports. We don't have actual support because our community is so large now that first level and second level questions get answered on the community itself. Only time we need to pitch in then when something is not working, something is broken so bad that they can't fix it. Otherwise, that's another thing that when you have 400 and 500 processes, it's very difficult for you to have a support team supporting those processes. And coming back to, again, reiterating the same thing, if you think from the BPM point of view, BPM stays with businesses. And if you want to manage your processes still as a process, you don't need to build a support team. And yeah, well, a lot of people might not agree with that. Yeah, but I would love to have a debate if that's the case. But for the Center of Excellence, as we said, as you might observe, that we have quite a hybrid model. We have people across the businesses, so there is nothing centralized. Our Center of Excellence is focused on creating governance, providing the platform, making sure everything works, virtual machines, databases, our orchestrator, studio, everything, which consists of everything and any other thing we build. And then we have measurement and everything else, like operational support for that development of components, measuring good and bad sides of things, that if the things are not working well or things are working well, that measurement is done at the Center of Excellence. Yes, so moving on, what do we actually really, this is the sum up of everything what I have said so far, that trust your own people, let them try, let them fail, let them experiment. And it's totally worth it even if they don't succeed in doing it. Because we train a lot of people, not everyone becomes a citizen developer. But the plus side of that without just being that person in the team of training, they have a soft corner, like a positive soft corner for the technology and the way of working. So they become our ambassador at talking about the tool and technology to other people. So one person can educate another 10 people. So we don't really look at that. If someone doesn't become a citizen developer, that's fine. It's still an advantage. They understand the technology. They know what we are doing. Otherwise, you need to do another communication for that, right? So keep your quality controls in check. Way of how do you make sure everything works fine. Appreciate your people, share achievements, and I think, as I said, controls and everything is there, and it should be fine. And very quickly, what we are looking forward. So I didn't talk about any machine learning AI because we think that we are really early stage of doing this. And though we have processes which deploys machine learning and uses machine learning capabilities, our own machine learning models and so on, but we are in pretty early stage, but we are looking forward this year and next year to integrate more machine learning and smart automation into our existing offering. We are working on some innovative solution, and not talking about the only RPA, but process automation and utilizing UiPath. So I think that's it. I don't have anything here, and I think I have taken a few minutes more than it was supposed to be. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for your time. That's it.